Are you considering relocating to the Columbia suburbs? Areas like Lexington, Irmo, Chapin, and all around Lake Murray. But curious how far your money really goes? Wondering what kind of home can you really get? Well, in this video, we're gonna be breaking down some of the top neighborhoods and some of the top suburbs around Columbia, South Carolina. Areas like Lexington, Irmo, Chapin, Gilbert, Red Bank, and so many other areas around Lake Murray, giving you that on-the-ground look so you can see the styles of the homes, the lot spacing, the amenities in the neighborhood, how far your money truly goes in the neighborhood with that cost of living, as well some of the things you ask about most, proximity to places like schools, shopping, Costco, and so much more. This video will save you hours of scrolling online and won't be like most of the other videos you watch. So let's get after it. All right, so as we get kicked off in this first neighborhood, the easiest way I found to break this down is by high school zoning, simply because pricing is different in each of the high school zoned areas. As well, you're gonna get a variety of different styles of homes. We're gonna have some newer neighborhoods, as well as some homes back to the 70s, 80s, some HOA, some non-HOA. So don't just assume because you've seen one section, you understand it all. And we are gonna be hitting that White Knoll zoned area, as well as the Gilbert High School zoned area, Irmo High School, Dutch Fork High School, Chapin High School, River Bluff High School, as well as Lexington High School. We are getting kicked off right here in the White Knoll High School zoned area with the Bluefield neighborhood. This neighborhood started back in 2019, and they actually have some new phases back there. I mean, making another video about new construction, but let's focus on this area over here. So it did come with 3 different tiers of homes. Kind of got some starter entry homes, all the way up to kind of more higher end. With that said, they do have an HOA out here, $460 a year. Comes with a pool. They got a lazy river. They got cabana in there. It's got green spaces with a dog park, playground, and so much more. But let's pull up pricing for this neighborhood. We'll hit the next neighborhood and then I'll pull up the map, kind of show you where we are in proximity to shopping, Lake Murray, and so much more. All right, so in each neighborhood, I'm gonna give you an idea of pricing of homes closed over the last year. And as I'm doing this, I'll be driving through the neighborhood, give you some idea of on the ground what it looks like. And so in the Bluefield neighborhood, there were some new ones that sold as well as those resales. Homes range from 1,476 square feet to 4,445 square feet. Homes sold from $235,000 up to $450,000, with the average price coming in at $306,000. And that came in at an average price per square foot of $142. Now, keep in mind, as we dive into this next neighborhood in the White Knoll zoned area, there's over 3,000 named subdivisions in the Columbia metro area. It would be impossible for me to make a video about every single neighborhood. My goal is not to steer you in any direction, but to highlight some of the neighborhoods I've sold the most houses in and shown in the most, to give you that good perspective. But don't hesitate to reach out because we can help you explore other neighborhoods in the area, of course. Now, this neighborhood here, this is gonna be the Longview neighborhood. Got started back in 2016, and there's actually a brand new phase with a new product line, but we're not talking about that in this. We're gonna talk about the established part. And the way they built it was 3 different tiers of homes. So you kind of had your entry homes, then you had your mid-level, and then you had your high end. Right now, to give you an idea, we're walking through that mid-level, but I will show you some footage to give you an idea of those different styles of homes in here. But HOA in here came in at $600 a year. They do have that community clubhouse, community pool. They have sidewalks in here. They also have a grass field down there and so much more. But either way, let's talk about pricing out here in the Longview neighborhood, and then we're gonna pull up that map and break down this White Knoll area a little bit further before we head to the next zoned area. In the Longview neighborhood, there were some resales as well as some new homes that sold. Homes sold ranging from 1,836 square feet up to 4,489 square feet, ranging from 300,000 up to 687,000, with the average sold home coming in at 414,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $142. All right, so I'm gonna break these areas down just a little bit to give you an idea of the areas where your closest shopping might be, how far your commute might be if you're heading to downtown Columbia, if you wanna head out on the lake, and a little bit more. And so we're gonna be covering this entire area around Lake Murray in this video, and we're getting kicked off again in that White White Knoll zoned area. For reference, as you zoom in here, as you can kind of see, area also known as Red Bank, 29073, Lexington, South Lexington, all referring to this area. And so you can kind of see White Knoll High School right here in the middle. Just south of that, you do have the Bluefield neighborhood that we checked out, and then the Longview neighborhood over this direction. Now, as we zoom into this area, let's talk about some of your local shopping, grocery shopping, where that's going to be. And as we zoom in here, you have a couple different shopping centers to choose from right here in this area. You got the Walmart shopping center where you got Lowe's Home Improvement, Aldi's. You also have a Food Lion grocery store, some fast food places, as you can see. Catty corner to that over here, you have the Public Shopping Center that was opened a couple years ago. You do have the Chick-fil-A in there and a couple other things. And then right across the street, you got a brand new shopping center. It's going to be anchored by a Lowe's food, different than Lowe's Home Improvement. You also going to have a Whataburger in there, Chipotle, Panda Express, Big Blue Mart Academy, and so much more. But either way, let's zoom out here and talk about the distance from this area to some of the other areas that I know so many of you ask about. And we're just going to use White Knoll High School as that primary, of course, take into consideration, depending on what side of town you're on, maybe a little bit different of a commute. But heading to downtown Lexington, people often ask about that, whether you're going to the amphitheater for a concert or a show, O'Hara's Public House that we talk about so often, Highway 378 shopping down here, Sunset Boulevard, right? You're going to have a little bit more shopping and restaurants than you do in that White Knoll area over there. Either way, as you can see, 6.2 miles, 15-minute drive right now with current traffic. To give you an idea, it's about 3:45 on Thursday afternoon making this. Next place that a lot of people ask about is, of course, Lake Murray. And we're going to just do the dam on that north side. This is one open year-round if you want to take a boat out on the lake. They do charge during the season. It's free during the off-season. We'll talk about some other boat ramps that are a little bit closer to some of the other areas. But as you can see, 12.2 miles, 26 minutes. One of the other big things that I hear a lot of people ask about is Costco. And I tell people not just Costco, because I know not everybody's a Costco person, but over here you have a whole bunch more chain stores, as well as your Sam's Club, our local mall, restaurants, and a lot more that I know we head over there too for. And so as you can see, 17.2 miles, 26 minutes at the time of making this. And then of course, heading to downtown Columbia, if you work down there, you're going to go head down to some of the restaurants down that direction, Fort Jackson, wherever it may be. 14.1 miles, 29 minutes from that White Knoll area. All right, so now we're out here at the area that's going to be zoned for Gilbert High School, and we're getting kicked off in the neighborhood, The Farm. This neighborhood was built between 2004 and 2009. They do have an HOA in here coming at $150 a year, and it's really just going to cover the green space, no amenities or anything like that. Now, with that said, I want to bring up as well, as we're out here, as you can see, the lot space is pretty big in this neighborhood. Reason for that is back then, a lot of the Gilbert area didn't have public sewer. And so these neighborhoods were built on septic. And whenever you have septic tanks, because of those drain fields, they do require you have a larger lot. Now, they have since come back and run public sewer through a lot of the areas. So a lot of the newer neighborhoods you see will have public sewer, but of course they didn't run it back through those old neighborhoods. Just want to give you an idea, we will see other neighborhoods with larger lots that aren't on septic, but wanted to point that out while we're out here. In the Farm neighborhood, homes sold between 2,012 square feet to 2,871 square feet. Homes ranging from 314,000 up to 343,000, with the average sold price coming at 331,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $144. And as I drive out to this next neighborhood, keep in mind, I'm out here hustling to try and bring you the best information about the area. This is why so many people reach out to us. We know the areas. We can help take that pressure off of you by giving you that guidance that I didn't have when I moved to the Columbia suburbs. So if you're thinking about making a move, feel free to reach out over on our website, because my team and I are never too busy if you're looking for a home in the Columbia suburbs. All right, so now we're out at the Cassique neighborhood. This neighborhood kicked off back in 2017, and they literally just wrapped up what I believe is their final phase out here. This one is also, as you can see, larger lots because they are on septic as well. To give you an idea out here, they do have $250 a year HOA, and that's going to be including common area maintenance, no other amenities outside of that. But let's pull up pricing in here, and then we'll pull up the map and talk about the Gilbert area a little bit further. In the Cassique neighborhood, you had some new homes as well as some resales. Homes sold between 1,795 square feet up to 3,040 square feet. Homes selling from $305,000 up to $445,000, with the average sold home coming in at $340,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $140. All right, so that next area we hit was the Gilbert zoned area. As you can see, kind of west side of Lexington. And as we zoom in here, you do have Gilbert High School right up here in downtown Gilbert. Now, I tell people all the time, downtown Gilbert, very small town. You don't have shopping centers or anything like that up there. You have a Price's Country Store, a little gas station, stop and go. But either way, the neighborhoods that we checked out, you got the farm over here as well as Cassique right next to each other. Now, the Gilbert zoned area does run all the way down to the lake, down this direction. It's a very rural area because you do still have a farmland in this direction. And so because of that, it spreads out. Now, depending on what side of town you're living on, depends on where your shopping will do. Later, when we dive into Lexington, I'll show you where some of these shopping centers are over here. And so if you live over there, you might do your shopping here, but let's focus on the neighborhoods that we hit in here. And so obviously, let's use these as a reference point. And so let's go back to what we talked about before. So if you're heading to downtown Lexington, you're looking at about a 15-minute, 9.7-mile drive. So a little bit further than the Red Bank area. And with that said, of course, that shopping center back that direction, what you're looking at is 12 minutes, 5.8 miles. And of course, the lake. Now, this is the one where I'm going to show you both just to give you an idea, because depending on where you live in here, depends on where you're going to go. So 27 minutes, 15.8 miles to the North Side Dam. Now, there is another boat launch down in Gilbert. As you can see, 26 minutes, 17.8 miles. Now, obviously, the closer you are to the lake in Gilbert, this is obviously going to be much closer. With that said, too, that north side one, remember, paid during the season, free during the off season, where this one is free year round. They do have boat parking and so much more. Either way, let's circle back to Costco to give you an idea from this side of town. You're looking at 26 minutes, 20.7 miles, and then wrapping up, as I talked about, with downtown Columbia. And as you can see, 28 minutes, 22.7 miles. So hopefully that gives you an idea of that area. All right, so we're getting kicked off in the Irmo High School zoned area with Quail Valley. This neighborhood, primarily built between the 70s and 80s with some lingering on. Out here, you do have what's called a voluntary HOA. A lot of people ask, why would I voluntarily pay somebody to come tell me what to do with my house? And that's not what these HOAs are about. They're not there to tell you what to do with their house. They're more of what I like to call community advocate groups, right? They help with the signage, make sure that's maintained. Maybe send out mailers talking about doing a community garage sale, all those types of things. Outside of that, you do have some lakes in here, and of course, there's a HOA with that to help maintain that. Now, the other big thing we did see a lot in Irmo is places like this, Quail Valley Swim and Racket Club. This area was developed a lot by Mungo, and they wanted to entice people to come to the area. So I built a few of these tennis courts, swim pools, where they have swim teams and so much more. But it's not exclusive to the neighborhood. You're not paying an HOA to pay for this. Anybody in the area can come pay, join the swim team, tennis courts, as you can imagine, switch some of them over to pickleball courts. And so you got a lot of that in the Irmo area. You might see Mungo Park as you're driving down Lake Murray Boulevard. That was one of those that they actually recently donated to the Irmo recreation area. But either way, let's dive into pricing of Quail Valley. And just to clarify with that lake HOA, that's if you actually live on one of those lakes. Not everybody has to contribute to it. In the Quail Valley neighborhood, homes sold ranging from 1,942 square feet up to 3,961 square feet. Homes selling from $230,000 up to $420,000, with the average sold home coming in at $330,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $123. All right, so now we're out at the Clearwater neighborhood. This neighborhood was built between the 80s and the 2000s. This neighborhood is actually going to be a lakefront neighborhood. I have an entire series about lakefront neighborhoods if you want to learn more about those. Either way, HOA comes in at $440 a year. They do have that boat ramp. They have some boat storage parking. As well, they do have some tennis courts right here at the front of the neighborhood. Otherwise, let's talk about pricing, and then we'll pull up that map. In the Clearwater neighborhood, homes sold between 2,008 square feet up to 2,950 square feet. Homes selling from $365,000 up to $390,000, with the average coming in at $377,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $168. All right, so that next area we hit was the Irmo High School zoned area. As you can see, it's going to be just east of Lake Murray. And as we zoom in here, as you can see, you got Irmo High School right here. You got that Clearwater neighborhood over on the lake that we checked out, as well as Quail Valley right around the corner from Irmo High School. Now, with that said, I'm going to get rid of these and show you because we talked about so much the Harbison area earlier. And let's dive into that because you do have a bunch of shopping, including, like I said, the Columbiana Center Mall. And so when we get rid of this, as you can see, right around the corner from the high school. And as we zoom in here again, like I talked about earlier, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, you do have public grocery store over there. You got movie theaters. You got the mall over there, which does have Belk, JCPenney's, and more. And so just a lot of that chain shopping. And again, you do have Sam's Club, and just right up the road, you do have Costco over here. And so again, right around the corner from that Irmo area. Tell people all the time, this area feels a little more densely populated than I think a lot of people think. So that's where your main shopping is going to be if you're on this side of town. Again, one of the big benefits, as you probably saw, Lake Murray right around the corner. 9 minutes, 4 miles from here. Obviously, you're on that Clearwater neighborhood. You're going to be right on top of it. As well, heading over to Columbia, of course, like we talked about before. 20 minutes, 10.1 miles. Got a little bit of traffic that you can hit in this corridor right here as they're working on it, but hopefully that gives you an idea of that Irmo area. All right, getting kicked off in the Dutch Fork High School zoned area with the Ashford neighborhood. If you're looking for one of those master plan communities with higher end amenities like you see over in Ascot, Governor's Grant, and more, but not looking for that high ticket price, this neighborhood is it. This neighborhood was built back from the 90s up to 2007. Large neighborhood, so you got a lot of variety of styles of homes in here. But more importantly, let's talk about these amenities over here. For $540 a year with your HOA, it does include that common area maintenance. You have a grass field down there with soccer nets. You got tennis courts down here as well. You got playgrounds, and then you got the pool. And this pool isn't like your new traditional ones that look like you're at a resort in Cancun, right? You actually have swim lanes down here. And as someone who grew up a swimmer, I know this is something that we love to see, those swim lanes in neighborhoods like this. Again, let's pull up the pricing so you can see how this compares to those higher end neighborhoods, a little bit more budget friendly with those same amenities. In the Ashford neighborhood, homes sold between 1,492 square feet up to 2,591 square feet. Homes selling from 250,000 up to 406,000, with the average home selling at 331,000. And that brought it to an average price per square foot of $153. And as I head out to the next neighborhood, keep in mind, we still got a lot of ground to cover that you're not going to want to miss. We're going to hit the Chapin area, and we still got to hit that Lexington side close to Lake Murray with the River Bluff High School area, as well as the Lexington High School area. And there's some neighborhoods you won't want to miss. So let's dive into the next one. All right, so we're out here at the Belfair and Belfair Oaks neighborhood. Same general neighborhood, just different names for the different subsections. When we talk about pricing, we're gonna be combining both those in that. Either way, this neighborhood was primarily built between 99 and about 2008 with a couple random houses after the fact. Any of these older neighborhoods you had that were sold as individual lots, you tend to see that where some of the lots staggered on for a couple years, especially see it in these neighborhoods that ran through 2008, as you can imagine, but gives you that little bit more character because not all the houses were built by the same developer. Either way, HOA in here comes in at $420 a year. As you can see, it's a sidewalk neighborhood, as well as they do have a community pool down there. But let's pull up the pricing and then we'll pull up the map and break down the area a little bit further. And one of the other benefits I forgot in this neighborhood is they actually have a path that walks you right over to the elementary school. In the Belfair and Belfair Oaks neighborhood, homes sold between 2,128 square feet up to 3,846 square feet. Homes selling from 259,000 up to 548,000, with the average sold home coming in at 353,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $134. All right, so that next area we hit was the Dutch Fork High School zoned area, as you can see, just north of that Irmo area. And as we zoom in here, the Dutch Fork area is a little bit more rural than the Irmo side, a little bit more spread out down here, and does even kind of touch closer to Irmo in this section. But either way, we hit that Belfair neighborhood right over here, as well as the Ashford neighborhood, both really close to Dutch Fork High School right here. And so let me give an idea of your proximity to a lot of these places. So because again, a lot of your shopping is most likely going to be back by the mall. As you can see, 15 minutes, 7.2 miles. Now, there is another shopping center down this direction that I can show you. You got a Walmart over this direction. That's going to be obviously much closer than that. But again, all those chain stores back there. Now, of course, let's talk to heading back to Lake Murray. And as you can see, from that Dutch Fork area, you're talking 8.5 miles, 16 minutes to it. You also do have the Hilton Rec boat launch that's going to be closer to Chapin. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we head over there, but as you can see, 13.2 miles, 23 minutes. Obviously, the benefit of this one is going to be free as well. So if you want to save a couple bucks, depending on where you live, that might be the direction you head. And then, of course, as we talked about before, Columbia, heading that direction, 16.5 miles, 29 minutes. As you can see, traffic in this area at this point. All right, so we're getting kicked off in the Chapin zoned area with Wessinger Farms. This neighborhood was built between 2018 and 2023. And it was actually a combination of both Mungo homes and Eastwood homes that built in here. And Mungo actually had a couple different product lines. So you got a lot of variation from those entry-level homes up to some with more higher-end upgrades and more. You do have an HOA in here that comes in at $400 a year. Does include this community pool behind me, as well as you can see playground, green space. One of the other big benefits of this neighborhood though, is we are literally right around the corner from Lake Murray. And just a couple minutes up the road is the Hilton Rec boat launch. Free year round to go use. So obviously one of the big perks is being that close in this neighborhood to that. In the Wessinger Farms neighborhood, homes sold between 1,564 square feet up to 3,155 square feet. Homes selling from 263,000 up to 428,000. With the average sold home coming at 346,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $148. All right, so now we're out here at the Portrait Hill neighborhood. This neighborhood was built by Mungo and made up of 3 different styles of homes out here. You had their highest end models that we see right behind me here. As well, there was a mix of their middle tier models. And then this direction and some in the back, you had their patio style homes where front yard maintenance and annual pressure washing is included. Their HOA comes in at $565 a year, unless you are in those patio homes where it's $300 a quarter. That HOA does include sidewalk neighborhood, as you can see. Over here, they got a community pond. They got a playground, they got a pool, they got a clubhouse, they got walking trails throughout the neighborhood. A lot of perks in this neighborhood, and the middle school is literally right across the street from us. But otherwise, let's dive into pricing and we'll pull up that map and break down this area a little bit further. In the Portrait Hill neighborhood, homes sold between 1,705 square feet up to 4,622 square feet. Homes selling from 373,000 up to 600,000, with the average sold home coming in at 471,000, and that brought it to an average price per square foot of $168. All right, so that next area we hit is that area zone for Chapin High School, going to be on that north side of the lake. And as we zoom in here, as you can kind of see, because of these coves down here, the Chapin area does spread out pretty far. So obviously your commute's going to be a little bit different depending on what your neighborhood you're coming from. We use Chapin High School as that kind of starting point to give you an idea. But again, if you're down here in this Timberlake Cove, it's going to take you 10-15 minutes back just to get back to downtown, where if you're up here at Portrait Hill, it's going to be a lot easier to hit the interstate and head back. Either way, as we zoom into Chapin itself, so you do have, kind of major stuff that you need to get done right here in the area. You got grocery stores, you got Lowe's, you got Publix, you got Food Lion, you got some local restaurants. I tell people you're not going to have like Lowe's Home Improvement out here, but you're going to have a Boland's Ace Hardware and things like that, as well as a lot of local restaurants. And so either way, heading back to give you an idea to the shopping back at the Columbiana Center Mall, for if you are looking for some of that bigger chain shopping, 17 minutes, 13.6 miles. Now, again, as I talked about before, one of the benefits over here is heading down to that boat launch that is down this direction, right around the corner actually from the Wessinger Farms neighborhood. 15 minutes, 7 miles. So obviously going to save you a bit of money and as well time versus heading back to that lake there, 20 minutes, 13.2 miles. And then of course, heading back to Columbia to give you an idea of that, you're looking at 31 minutes, 22.8 miles with a little bit of traffic. They have widened I-26 down this direction, but of course, they're still working on this area right here. All right, so now we're over in the area zone for River Bluff High School, and we're getting kicked off in the Woodcreek neighborhood. Established neighborhood right off of Highway 1, right around the corner from the interstate, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Either way, this neighborhood out here, built between 1989 and 2003. As well, this one is going to be another one of those voluntary HOAs coming at $75 a year, and they do have sidewalks in this neighborhood. Otherwise, let's dive into pricing and then the other neighborhood, and then I'll pull up that map and break down these two different areas and their convenient locations. The Woodcreek neighborhood. Homes selling between 2,087 square feet up to 2,883 square feet. Homes selling from 355,000 up to 445,000, with the average home sold coming in at 401,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $169. All right, so now we're out at the Hope Ferry Plantation neighborhood. This neighborhood was built between the 70s all the way up to 2002. A lot of these older established neighborhoods in Lexington were sold off as lots. So with that, it took a little bit longer to sell, but also that's what creates, I know, a lot of the character that y'all like with different styles of homes and so much more. But either way, to give you an idea out here, their HOA comes in at $360 a year, and they do have a community pool down here. Another thing, when we pull up the map, you'll see this, literally right around the corner from Sunset Boulevard, that major shopping corridor in Lexington, so convenient location. But let's talk about pricing, and then I'll pull up that map and show you exactly where it's at to give you an idea. In the Hope Ferry Plantation neighborhood, homes sold between 2,241 square feet up to 3,406 square feet. Homes selling from 415,000 up to 537,000, with the average home sold coming in at 446,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $167. All right, so that next area that we hit, the River Bluff High School zoned area, as you can see, kind of southeast side of Lake Murray, getting a lot closer to downtown Lexington as we zoom in here, as you can see. And so you got River Bluff High School off of Corley Mill Road over here, and it's going to be kind of the far east side of this zoning area. As you can see, these neighborhoods that we checked out, Woodcreek down here, as well as Hope Ferry Plantation, both of them going to be super close proximity to that shopping down in Lexington, as well as off of Highway 378. I mean, literally, you can see right around the corner from Lowe's Food, Lowe's Home Improvement, in the Hope Ferry Plantation neighborhood. But let me give you an idea, and I'm going to use the Woodcreek neighborhood as the proximity, just because imagine this one's just going to be a little bit closer to the lake and all the other spots. But if we get rid of these and we put that in there and we talk about Lake Murray, as you can see, heading over to that public boat ramp, 15 minutes, 6.3 miles, whereas you can see this one's going to be a little bit closer, not having to cut through downtown Lexington there. And then again, heading over to Harbison, if you did want to head over to the Costco area, you're talking 17 minutes, 11.2 miles that direction. And then lastly, like we talked about, heading to downtown Columbia, you're going to be looking at 19 minutes, 13.2 miles. All right, so now we're out here in the Lexington High School zoned area, and we're getting kicked off in the Silvercreek neighborhood. And this is actually made up of two different phases, and I'll break down each of them. So we're right now in the first section of Silvercreek. This section was built between the 80s and early 2000s. As you can see, this section over here, larger lot sizes, and that's because these were originally built on septic tank, and because of the drain fields, there is a larger lot size requirement with that. As well, in this section over here, you're talking about a $40 a month HOA. And as well, just to give you an idea, there's a couple neighborhoods nearby this that are very similar, but do have different names, like Rolling Wood and others. All right, so now we're at the back section. This is known as the Enclave at Silvercreek, the newer section. This section was built between 2011 and 2017. As you can see back here, lot spacing is a little bit closer together, and that's because these ones are on public sewer. Now, because they did run public sewer, some in the front say public sewer is now available, so you might reach out to the municipality to see if you can tap into if that's something that you're considering doing. Either way, HOA back here, a little bit more expensive at $185 a year. They have sidewalks back here, common area maintenance, things like that. No other amenities to it. Either ways, let's break down the pricing because they are comparable between this section and that section up here. And then we'll go to the next neighborhood and pull up the map and talk about the area. The Silvercreek and the Enclave at Silvercreek neighborhood. Homes sold between 2,062 square feet up to 4,240 square feet. Homes selling from 350,000 up to 500,000, with the average home sold coming in at 442,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $147. All right, so we're out here in the Summerlake neighborhood. This neighborhood started back in 2000 and just about wrapped up in 2022, but there's actually a new section that they're gonna be expanding on here just in the future. And this neighborhood was actually a mix. You had production builders that were in here, as well as you had lots that were sold off, that you had some custom build jobs in the neighborhood. So you got quite a bit of variety of styles of homes as well as pricing. And to give you an idea, their HOA over here comes in at $600 a year. And being Summerlake, they do have the community pond right behind these houses here. Some of the houses do back up to the pond. As well, you got a clubhouse over there. You got a community pool. In the front, you got some green space with actual Frisbee golf little setup over there. And then sidewalk neighborhood, as you can see. And then at the back of the neighborhood, there's actually a path that leads right down to Beechwood Middle School for those that are looking for those neighborhoods where you could actually walk your kids to middle school. This is one of those neighborhoods. So a lot that encompasses this neighborhood, but let's dive into the current pricing that we see out here, as well as breaking down the area a little bit further. In the Summerlake neighborhood, homes sold from 2,061 square feet up to 5,156 square feet. Homes selling from 305,000 up to 835,000, with the average home sold coming in at 505,000. This brought it to an average price per square foot of $160. All right, so that next area we hit was the area zoned for Lexington High School. As you can kind of see, just moving to that west side of Lexington. And as we zoom in here, as you can see, you got Lexington High School here off of Highway 1. Two neighborhoods we hit, Summerlake this direction, as well as the Silvercreek neighborhood this direction. Both same distance to Lexington High School. Now, let's talk about where your local shopping is going to be if you're in this area, because it's going to be a little bit different. I talked about in the Gilbert area, because as we zoom in here, as you can kind of see, Publix, you got on this direction, a Lowe's grocery store, you got CVS, Starbucks, some fast food, Boho Pizza right around the corner from here. So you got a lot of stuff that you can hit right in this direction because it is right around the corner from the high school. As you can kind of see this drive right here. And obviously this is kind of the whole loop. And so we'll get rid of Silvercreek here to give you an idea. Either way, both going to be about the same, that 4.5 miles. Now, again, let's talk about heading to downtown Lexington. And I'm going to use Summerlake just because it's the furthest back, but as you can see, you're talking about 6 miles, 13 minutes to there. Now let's talk about Lake Murray, because this is where it's going to change a little bit, right? As we talked about in the Gilbert area, 20 minutes, 10.8 miles, where if we go back to that other landing on the other side, as you can see, only 14 minutes, 9.2 miles. Now, of course, with that said, depending on where you're living, because if you are back in that Silvercreek neighborhood, as you can see, 17 minutes, 12.3 miles going that direction, where if we go back to Lake Murray on the dam, you're only 12 minutes, 6.9 miles. So obviously this is where it makes a difference depending on which part of the Lexington zoned area you live. But let's head back to Lexington High School to kind of give us an idea of how long it's going to take to get to some of the other areas. And so as we talked about before, heading to downtown Lexington, as you can see, 4.4 miles, 11 minutes to there. And then heading to Costco from over on this direction, you're looking at 20.9 miles, 31 minutes. And as you can see, again, if you're in here, it might be a little bit closer to go this direction, avoid the interstate, especially at the hour we're looking at right now. And then same with heading to downtown Columbia, as you can see, 33 minutes, 22.9 miles. And again, if you want to dive deeper into these specific areas, we'll actually break down more of the shopping, the pros and cons of the areas, and so much more. You're going to want to watch this video here, where I literally pull up the map and explain these areas in so much further detail, especially now that you have a good idea of how far your money goes in each area.